G'day guys, welcome back to BCA. Today we're going to be working on our 1947 Massey's 44K. This one's a Rowcrop. We've had this for a while now. We actually picked it up in South Australia, or Dad picked it up in South Australia. We might give a bit of a rundown on the history of it since we got it, sort of thing. It is serial number 1007, so that makes it the 7th one built. So I think that's really interesting, being so early. But today the plans are we're going to take these 28-inch rims. It's got 16.9 28 tyres on it. And we want to we've got a set of 13.6 38s. So we want it to sit more level and up like a Rowcrop should. So yeah, that's the plan today, is to swap the tyres across. So I'll probably put a time lapse something on, and Dad and I will get into it. So as you can see here, the wheels fit on the straight axle, and it's adjustable width. So you can see there's a circlip here. You would put that circlip in the slot that you want, move the wheel out to it, and then tighten up these bolts. This is like a wedge, like a conical wedge. And so what you do is you undo this row of 6 bolts, pry it out, and that will release it from the wedge. Obviously you take this circlip off, you slide the wedge out, and then you can the wheel just sits on there nice and loose, and you just lift it off. So yeah, obviously we'll do that to pull these off, and then we'll look at putting the other ones on. As you saw in the time lapse, we got there's the wedge section. You can see it's got that big slot in it. We just hammered the chisel into the slot, which opened it up enough to essentially slide off. So we've got the wheel out of the way. Now we've got the hub already bolted on. And as you can see, this one on the back side here just has 2 halves. So this is all part of the main hub, that part main casting. And this piece here is a separate casting. And the 4 bolts just clamp it all up onto the axle. And it has a key on the axle, and that's how it drives. So now we're just gonna bolt the wheel on like you would any other wheel. And away we go. I'll put the time lapse back on. Right, also, these wheels. Now, what we did is we got a wreck, which I can put a photo of in here. We picked up a wreck from an auction, and it had these wheels on it. Now, the rims were rusty. They were just pretty much knackered. So what we ended up doing was we saved the centers, we saved obviously the hubs, and we found another set of 38-inch rims, cut the centers out of the rims we needed, and welded it into this rim. So now we're happy. And then we actually managed to find a second-hand set of 13.6 38 tyres, which is essentially the right size. I think they possibly would have had 12.4s, but either way, this is a good size, and yeah, it'll stand up nice and tall on the big 38-inch tyres. Give it some throttle.
Won't need much, it revs pretty high.
Oh yeah, because the bloody got that bridge. We've just swapped our 44 back over to the, well not back over, but over to the 38-inch wheels that we picked up. We're pretty happy with how it sits. It's the first time we've seen it sitting up on these big wheels, and we're really happy. It sits nice and level. We actually chucked a tape measure on the drawbar before and after to see how much difference it would make, and it was about 5 inches. So really is quite a big difference in height, and we're really happy with how it looks. So yeah, we're just going to talk about how we came to acquire it, and yeah, sort of where it came from. So where did you find it, Dad?
Well, back in from 2013 to 2015, I was living in Adelaide for work, and I was friends with a guy over there who was into tractors. And he said to me one day, "Oh, you got to come down and see me, mate. He's getting out of tractors. He's got some you might be interested in." So I went down and had a look. Had a look through his yard, and he really did have some tractors I might have been interested in, but there was 2 in particular I really liked. One was a little Farmall H, which we actually bought home. We've actually moved that on to someone else now. But the other one was this tractor. And Ian knew we were into Massey Harris's, and when I went down to look at this tractor, I had a close look at it. It had a few things that were a bit sort of funny, but the thing I really noticed was that it was a serial number 1007, and I know they started at 1001, so that makes this the 7th 44k. Well, 44k.
Well, 44k Rowcrop, because
yes,
they would start at 0 again start at 1001 again for the 44k standard.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I noticed this was a really early tractor, and actually did a deal with a guy and managed to buy it and bring it home. And initially it went, I was living in Adelaide, it went in, we had a house we were just renting, it went in a shed, and I didn't do much on it, it just sat there, and then it wasn't long after that I got moved back to Melbourne. So it got shipped, packed up and brought back to Melbourne, got it in my shed, eventually got it going. When I first started it, it tried to rev its head off, and I thought, what the hell's wrong with this? And then I had a look, and turned out the governor wasn't hooked up properly, the throttle was just hooked straight to the carby. And then when I looked in the front, turns out someone had actually removed the governor weights and thrown them away. This tractor had spent its life,
it's later life, it was using it as a boat launcher. And we could tell that when we actually pulled the wheels apart, and Stephen put some photos of the wheels in when we pulled the original back wheels apart. They were so rusty. They were the rustiest pair of wheels we've ever had. Yeah, you can see the wheels behind us here. There's 8 bolts around. Well, I think they're 3/4 bolts.
Yeah.
They were literally rusted down to about 3/8. So they were more than half gone. It was scary actually. We did have air in the tyres. It was holding air. So one day, one could break it. It could have blown apart. So it was really good that we pulled it apart and repaired that, because obviously that was dangerous. And yeah.
Although as it turned out, even once we'd undid all the bolts, the one we could, or broke them, or undid them, whatever it was, then we actually put air in the tyres to try and separate the 2 halves of the cast iron rims, and they still wouldn't come apart. And this is when we used an old front axle and a piece of steel and a 20-ton jack, and we eventually got the wheels apart.
Yeah.
Now the other thing this tractor had, it originally had...
Sorry, hang on.
Yeah.
The reason that was stuck together is, once again, you can see the outer part of the rim, and then the centre, it's actually a 3-piece rim, so you've got 2 outers and a centre disc, and the outers actually slot, like the centre disc sits in the middle, and the outers both slot either side of it, and just where the interference fit was, it rusted so badly that they would not come apart. Like, it was essentially growing in there. So yeah, eventually, as I said, 20-ton jack and a puller setup that we made, got them apart, but yeah, that was a nightmare.
And the other thing we've done with this tractor, when we got it, it actually had the 28-inch wheels on the back, and it had a standard tread front axle on it. I don't think it would have come from
I think it was off a 30, because the pedestal height wasn't right.
Yeah.
The pedestals on a 44 are taller than on a 30. And I think the one that was on it was off a 30, so the tractor actually sat pretty low, and it really didn't have the presence, as you see now, of a 44, which is quite a reasonable sized tractor.
Yeah, Steve's got there should be a video in here that Steve will upload of me driving around when I first got it going. And it looks much, much different, because it's on the little 28-inch back wheels and the standard tread front axle. We actually had to go to Queensland to get this pedestal, the front Rowcrop pedestal.
Well, we didn't go to Queensland.
Well,
we found it in Queensland, had someone ship it down for us.
Yeah. So then we converted it back to the Rowcrop front end, and then of course started the hunt to look for some 38-inch reels to put on to make it actually look like a Rowcrop tractor. But because the serial number was KR, I really wanted to put it back together as a Rowcrop tractor. So that's what we've been working on. That's where we've got to at the moment.
And the main difference with the Rowcrop to the standard tread tractor, most of the tractor is the same. The pedestals obviously are interchangeable and everything, but the back axles are different. They got the straight axles so that you can adjust the width of the rear tyres, whereas the standard treads would be like the pacemaker, like any other standard treads here. They're a taper, so you can't adjust the width of the rear tyres. So there is actually a difference in the rear ends. I believe the gearing's still all the same though, I think. I mean, someone might correct me on that, but yeah.
But this poor old tractor's had such a hard life. I don't know how hard they revved it, but it's actually quite rattly in the cam gears and stuff. It actually starts and runs really well, but it's a lot noisier than it probably should be, and it's starting to get a little bit of oil, a little bit of water in the sump, which I think maybe the liner seals are leaking. So we're probably not going to do a great deal with it until it's actually some point we might put it in the shed and give it actually pull the engine down and see if we can stop the leaks and stuff. And I think I've scored another set of cam gears somewhere. But yeah, it's a little bit of an ongoing project, but we really like it because it's an early serial number and now it looks like the Rowcrop tractor that it was original.
Well, actually going back to talking about the governor weights, while Dad was working on this and getting it going, I was actually in Canada. I spent nearly 18 months in Canada, and Dad, sends me a message or talks to me. I can't remember what it was, but he sent me a photo or something saying, "We've got no governor weights." I was like, "Oh, gee, that's weird." So I'd been talking to a gentleman by the name of Colin, who was in, I think his name's Colin. I'm pretty sure Colin Colborne, I think his name is, in Canada, and I just messaged him and I told him, I said, "Oh, you won't by any chance have any governor weights for a 44, do you?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, no, I've got them. So I jumped in this little Ford Focus that I'd bought while I was in Canada just to get me by, and the snow was horrendous. I left early one morning and went up to his place. It was great. I spent the day with him and he was a really nice guy, but it was a 3 or 4 hour drive. And picked up these the governor weights and brought them and ended up, I bring them home in my suitcase. I didn't post them. I think I put them in my suitcase.
And you bought me home a Massey Harris Collectors of Canada hat.
Yes, yeah, Colin gave us that, and Dad's got that now. So no, it was funny. It just worked out really well because otherwise we'd have had to find another 44 wreck in Australia, which we possibly could have, but it was just worked out well at the time. So, but no, we're really happy with it. We think it's a really interesting tractor, and I'd really like to take it out to a few places now that we've got it sort of sitting up on the big wheels and everything, and sort of show it off a little bit.
We might take it down to Carramara for this, the Carramara Working on some Tractor Rally, just for a little bit of a look. Now that we've got the truck set up to take Rowcrops as well. So.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So it'll work out right. So.
We just like the way it looks. I really like it now. It stands up so tall. It really looks.
It looks right now. So.
But anyway, yeah, we really like it. It's a nice tractor and it's really early and significant. So. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little bit on our 44. And like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.